This channel is for adults and not for kids. Hey guys, thanks for stopping back by. So I wanted to show you guys some cool monsters, some really cool action figures. This is a line of figures that McFarlane Toys put out in 2001. They are called Tortured Souls. Basically, McFarlane wanted to make Hellraiser action figures, but the rights were tied up. They were not available at the time. So Clive Barker and McFarlane put their heads together, and basically these are Cenobites, but without being Cenobites. They're the same sort of S&M bondage dominatrix type of leather-clad tortured monster people. They're basically Cenobites. It was just their way of getting around the whole Hellraiser license. I don't know if it's because NECA was making Hellraiser action figures or if the rights were tied up in some other way. All I know is that he could not make Hellraiser figures, so the two of them got together and just sort of made Hellraiser figures that weren't in any of the films. That's basically what these are. Truth be told, I think these are cooler looking characters than the Cenobites. I only own 4 characters right now. I used to have the entire collection, but I sold the figures that I didn't really care for. This guy that you're looking at right here, this is my favorite. And look at this wild thing. He's got a human face, probably his own, stretched out behind him. To me, he looks like a more monstrous version of the Chatterer from Hellraiser. He's got fangs too. This is the little one, or the standard McFarlane 7-inch tall figure. They have real chains, which is pretty cool. I always loved that about McFarlane Toys. Is just that little added touch of let's include real metal chains. Very cool. But as you can see, he's got no eyeballs like the Chatterer, and his face is like a mass of scar tissue being held back by leather straps, and you see his mouth full of razor sharp teeth. Let's show him off in a little better detail. But yeah, his face is just a mass of scar tissue and looks like stitches. No eyes, no nose. It's like his throat is being opened up. Just like the Cenobites, everybody's got fucking fish hooks piercing their skin, holding it apart. His arm is all flayed. So these figures are not pristine. Obviously, the little weapon holding thingy is broken on his back. They're sort of delicate. They're, 23 years old now. I like the littler figures, but these 12-inch ones are my favorites. More detail is possible in the larger scale. Tons of detail on him. care for that thing around his head, though. Let's take that off. I never really liked that. It's kind of neat, I guess, but whatever. He's cooler looking without it. But yeah, he just looks like a more ferocious version of the Chatterer Cenobite from Hellraiser. And you can take that backpack thingy off. I think I like him better without all that shit on him. I mean, I understand it adds to the cool surgical craziness of it all, but I kind of like him just like that, like the little figure. Now there's a lore that goes along with these figures. Of course there is. Each figure that you bought in this series would have a little bit more of the story. I don't remember it. I remember I didn't really care for it. You know, it was whatever at the time. I just wanted the awesome looking monsters. That's all I cared about, regardless of whatever story Clive Barker came up with. This is another cool figure that also looks a lot like the Chatterer. I think they purposely stayed away from anything that sort of resembled Pinhead, which was probably smart on their part, because it would have sucked if Clive Barker would get sued by whoever had the rights for Hellraiser stuff for his own creation. But this guy is cool. I don't know any of the names. I'm sorry. It's, 20-something years. I don't remember. I didn't even remember the names when these were new. They were those McFarlane Cenobites as far as I was concerned. But, as you can see, just like Cenobites, they're all clad in leather with buckles and straps and lots of lovely self-harm, surgery, stitches, barbed wire, fish hooks. This crazy bastard's got a spike going through his head. Right there. Coming out down there. This just like a mass of scar tissue covering his dome and his eyes where this doesn't come off. I think it comes off on the 12-inch version. We'll find out in a second. But I mean, look at that. The clothing is, it looks like Pinhead from the back, We've such sights to show you. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were somebody else. But yeah, as far as I remember reading, McFarlane really had his heart set on making Hellraiser figures, and they just couldn't do it. Somebody was cock blocking them, and luckily Clive Barker was game to come up with some more spookiness to turn into action figures. And I think this large one's head, let's take a look. Watch me break my toy. I think this pops off. No? Yes. Ho, ho, ho. So he does have eyes. But much like Giger's alien, it's scarier without eyes. Maybe like the alien he sees psychically. But the little figures are nice, but man, you just can't fuck with these 12-inch ones. You can capture so much more detail on this larger scale. Just incredible. Gonna do a family shot here. Everybody smile for the camera. Smile for Aunt Helen. She couldn't be here. Sending a postcard from hell. Wish you were here. This is the third character I've got, and I think this guy was some sort of leader as far as the lore went. This guy is the kind of most like Pinhead because he's very skinny, and he's got those two flaps of skin hanging down like Pinhead has, and he's just a mess of surgery. His face is being completely pulled back. Now, he originally had like this little backpack thing that sat up here and went up to like this harness piece that had lots of chains that went connecting to this piece. So it was kind of neat. You know, his head is all flayed open and you see all these chains coming up to this big thing. But the plastic that they used is very brittle. It was brittle when it was new, and you know, now it's 2 decades old, so it's not the strongest stuff. But he's pretty cool too. Could not tell you his name. We're gonna call him Floyd. And last up, you know, what good is having a bunch of hell demons if you don't have some poor bastard to torture in hell? I think this fat bastard is from series 2. I think it's from the second series. So basically he's being tortured. I mean, obviously, John, it doesn't look like he's having a good time. His eyeballs being yanked out, his face is all being ripped open. He's got these awesome little monsters that are digging into his guts. I've got a couple of them actually in there right now, eating him. He's missing a leg right there. Looks like he's been cut open and stitched back up a few times. And yeah, it's got like this little harness where you can raise and lower the little nasty monsters to chew away on this guy. Are they different sculpts? Yeah, I think so. Mildly, just barely different, but Anyway, that's kind of neat. You can put them on here, chewing on the guy. Yeah, McFarlane Toys definitely is for adult collectors, and that's what's awesome. Is I always love that fact about McFarlane Toys is he wasn't trying to water it down. He knew his audience. He wasn't trying to say this is for kids. Obviously, this is not for kids. It's Clive Barker. I mean, kids, you know, little kids aren't reading the books of blood. I mean, not till probably junior high or high school, you know. And so what if they were? I was a monster kid my entire life. If these were around when I was a little kid, I would have gravitated towards them, I think. But McFarlane definitely knew his audience consisted mostly of 20-somethings and up. And I always loved that he didn't try and tame shit down for a younger audience. I always thought that was cool. And I know he caught hell for it. It seemed like in the 90s they were always crying about his action figures and look at this perverted shit that is being marketed towards our kids. But, you know, it wasn't being marketed towards kids. It's always been for, you know, older consumers. I mean, this isn't something, you know, 7-year-old Billy is going to play with anyway. I mean, there's not a high playability factor with these things anyway. They're kind of like, you know, you put them in a cool pose and then you admire it, because there's hardly any play factor. It's not like it's a super articulated thing, or, you know, it's not from some superhero movie. It's not like something little kids would want to play with anyway. But the 90s were all about protecting kids. Same with the early 2000s when these came out. That McFarlane is trying to tell you all about the devil. Anyway, these are super cool monsters. Do you guys have any of these? Did you used to have them? You can still find them at toy shows, eBay. They're not that hard to track down. If you want to get them loose, like mine, they're a lot cheaper than if you try and get them mint. But I guess that can be said with most toys. Anyway, these are super cool. I thought you guys would want to see them. I like them. I sold off, like I said, all the others. There was a girl, you know, like a female Cenobite. And there was this other dude who was kind of like walking around on all fours, and his stomach was like a big open monster mouth with teeth, and he was all right. But there were some other dudes hanging by fish hooks from their face. There were some other cool ones. But yeah, I sold those all off. There was like what was another one? There was like a chick who had like wings made out of her flayed flesh from her back. You know, it's all sort of par for the course, typical Clive Barker stuff. But I held on to the ones that I really, really liked. And I think these guys are very cool looking. Yeah, if you guys don't have them and you're a monster kid, you should probably check these out. They're very cool. They go really well right alongside your Hellraiser figures. I used to have a great big shelf, and all of my all of my tortured souls were mingled with my Hellraiser figures. I know I have showed you guys my 18-inch tall NECA pinhead. I'll have to show you guys the, the normal sized NECA Hellraiser figures. But yeah, I used to have a shelf back at my old place, and it was all tortured souls and NECA Hellraiser figures, and they all look completely fine next to each other. They all look like they're from the same apartment complex in hell. All right, my friends, take it easy, and I'll be back soon with some more glorious monsters to look at. Happy Halloween.